January 2025 was a big month as we finally saw a glimpse and weaknesses of those Dagestani fighters. Obviously, I'm referring to 3 Dagestani fighters who fought this month. That is Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, and Usman Nurmagomedov. As we all know, 2 of these fighters won their fight, while 1 lost. Obviously, I'm referring to Umar, the youngest of the 3. Usman may have won his fight, but it was very close and many people believe it was a robbery. Islam Makhachev was the only one who showed out with a dominant performance against Moicano, while the other Dagestani fighters had tough nights. Whether it was a loss or a controversial win, Islam reminds everyone why he's still at top of the food chain. He controlled the fight from start to finish, never really gave Moicano a chance to get anything going, and it was kind of a performance people expect from a guy with his skill set. And honestly, it just reinforced why he's still the guy to beat in this division. But let's be real, Moicano wasn't scheduled to be his original opponent, and we've seen some cracks in his armors before. Yeah, he's an elite fighter, but he's not untouchable. There have been moments where he's been pushed through adversity, and while he's always found a way to win, it just proves that nobody is really invincible in this game. And I've seen people say, oh, this is the downfall of the Dagestanians. But look, man, it's really not. All 3 of these guys are high-level fighters, no doubt about it. But let's be real, people just put them an insane expectation on them just because of Khabib. These are his proteges, his brothers, the guys he trains with. Khabib's run was dominant, no question about it, and you can have whatever opinion you want on him. But the reality is, he set the bar ridiculously high. So now anytime one of his guys loses or even has a close fight, people act like it's some huge failure. And the thing is, it's not. It just shows that at the highest level, everyone is beatable. It's like they expect every Dagestani fighter to be this invincible mauling machine just because they trained under Khabib or are blood or they came from that system. But here's the thing, not everyone is Khabib. They've got their own style, their own strength, and their own flaws. And just because they're not smashing everyone the way they expect doesn't mean they're not elite. MMA keeps evolving, the competition is only getting tougher, and no one is invincible forever. But you know how it goes, people love to jump on fighters at the moment they see even the slightest crack in their armor. Because Khabib barely lost a round, people built this myth around him that he wasn't just a dominant fighter, he was the dominant grappler. The guy wasn't just winning fights, he was breaking people. He even took them down, drowned them with pressure, and sometimes talked to them while beating them up, and completely shut down their offense. And the craziest part, nobody had the answer for it. He retired undefeated, as we all know, 29-0, and that number alone carries weight. Undefeated records are rare in MMA, especially in the UFC, where the best fighters fight the best. And Khabib wasn't just scraping by with decision wins, he was mauling world-class fighters and making them look helpless. Because of that, he became the gold standard for what people expect from a Dagestani fighter. Now, whenever one of his proteges fight, fans expect the same level of dominance. If they don't run through their opponent or if they're struggling even a little bit, people start talking like they're frauds. It's an impossible standard to live up to. Khabib's style worked for him, his strength, his pace, his control, it all made him special. But not every fighter from that camp is gonna be a carbon copy of him. Some have different skill sets, different approaches, and yeah, they might not be as dominant, but that doesn't mean they aren't great in their own right. It just means that Khabib was that unique. Now, to be fair, yeah, the community expects a lot from these guys, like they're supposed to be untouchable or something. But at the same time, they kind of bring it on themselves. I mean, let's be real, these guys talk a lot of shit. Islam was out here before the Volk fight saying that Volk was too small and that it was going to be an easy fight. And then we saw how that turned out. Then you got Usman Nurmagomedov, who straight up admitted after his fight with Paul Hughes, saying that he took him lightly. I'll be real, yeah, they can be cocky. Sometimes they can come off a little bit douchey, but that's just part of the game. The thing is, the moment they don't completely dominate, people are all over them. And let's not ignore the bias in the MMA community. I've seen people consistently bash the Dagestanians, calling them overrated or making wild accusations, some of them straight insane. Like, I've seen people say that they sleep with each other. I mean, that's just crazy, even though, if I'm going to be honest, Umar does give Usman some interesting looks at sometimes, but whatever, that's besides the point. The point is, people love to tear these guys down every chance they get, and it sucks because I don't even dislike them. If anything, I'm actually amazed at how good they all are. These are high level fighters, but instead of appreciating their skills, people just look the other way to discredit them. The real issue is that these guys get attacked at every opportunity. The moment they lose or even have a close fight, people jump on them like vultures, trying to discredit everything they've done. And honestly, when you look at it, they're arguably fighting tougher competition than Khabib ever did. Think about it. The sport keeps evolving. The lightweight and bantamweight division are stacked right now. These are some of the most skilled weight classes in MMA history. So yeah, for all we know, these guys could lose again in the future. And honestly, that just makes things more exciting. It just proves that they're being tested at the highest level. Look at Islam for an example. People expected him to run through Dustin in the first round. When the fight ended up being competitive, people started trashing his performance like he wasn't still dominating one of the best lightweights in the world. And suddenly I see people calling him a fraud. Like, come on man, Merab is an absolute monster. Umar won the first 2 rounds, and you can even argue that he was close to taking the third. To say that he's overrated, that's just crazy honestly. And to be honest, I think he beats everyone in that division besides Merab. Plain and simple, that's how good Umar is. And it's just wild how quick people are to turn on them. It's like they either have to be untouchable or they get exposed. There's no in between. But the reality is they're fighting the best of the best, and that's what makes this era of MMA so damn exciting. These guys are being tested at the highest level, and we're witnessing it in real time. Instead of discrediting them, we should appreciate just how good the competition is right now. And look man, I get it, they're all good, even if they're not in Khabib's level of dominance. All 3 of these guys are actually more well-rounded than Khabib was in some areas. Usman had the cleanest striking of the group, his kicks, his movements, all of it looks sharp, but he doesn't have that Khabib style wrestling where once he gets a hold of you, you're just done. If he can't control the fight, he's way more vulnerable than Khabib ever was. Umar is probably the slickest and most dynamic of the 3. His striking is way ahead of where Khabib was, his footwork is on another level, and he mixes in kicks beautifully. But he doesn't have the same physicality or relentless chain wrestling that made Khabib such a nightmare. He's more about movement, submissions, and striking variety than just mauling guys into the canvas. Then there's Islam, who in some ways is the most polished version of Khabib. His striking is cleaner, his submissions are smoother, and he's just more calculated overall. But he doesn't have that insane Khabib style pressure, durability, or brutal ground and pound, or grappling. He still dominates, but he's more about picking his spots than overwhelming his guys with non-stop aggression. But yeah, I just wanted to put this one out there, defending the Dagestans a little, calling out the truth about the racism, the toxic fans, and even some of the fighters' flaws in general. You know, because at the end of the day, they're not perfect, they can be cocky, and sometimes they underestimate their opponents. But all of that gets mixed together and creates some weird hate towards them. Anyways, that's why I want to make this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. This one was actually really fun to put together. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And like always guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.